Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be here, and if I look out at the sea of faces, can I just congratulate you all for being here? It's just wonderful, and I think connection, diversity and business are incredible themes, and I congratulate you all for being here on a number of levels. The small business owners in this room will probably know what I'm talking about, that you have taken the risk to employ people, you have probably mortgaged your house. As somebody told me in Whangarei only last week, they've mortgaged their house twice for their business, and they're still here. And you're here with this marvellous sea of ethnic diversity. And I congratulate you for being here. It's wonderful. Can I ask you to please turn on your phones? Do not turn off your phones, during my session anyway. As a small business owner, or even a medium-sized business owner, or even if you're with the ANZ Bank, you probably want your phone on. I want to do a plug for the ANZ Bank for the small business owners. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to, because for those that are drowning in a plethora of information, I can tell you that the privately owned business barometer, from my perspective as a small, medium-sized business owner, is singularly the best document that you should read. And it talks about the importance of succession planning. We're not going to do that here today, but it's worth reading for small business owners who, as we are all, we're ageing. So I'm involved in this marvellous experience with Yellow, as in the Yellow Pages, who have taken a very, very big risk. And they've taken this thing called the Biz on the road, a roadshow that's going to go to 12 cities and towns throughout New Zealand, 2 sessions a day, and we will probably touch around 3,500, probably 4,000 SME business owners. It's an extremely wonderful event to be involved in. And as we've discovered in both Whangarei, Auckland and Hamilton so far, a lot of those business owners are ethnic people in some form. And I think it's material in the sense that, you know, ANZ Bank and BNZ Bank, in the sense of sponsoring the Biz, Xero, KPMG, Google and others are there right beside Yellow supporting this thing, which is a thing designed to fundamentally educate small businesses in the need to advance their technologies, become more sophisticated as business owners, and most particularly to focus on innovation. And I commend them hugely for doing that, as I do for the group that has organised this so wonderfully. Somebody mentioned the concept of ethnic diversity in employment, and I recalled that when we bought Hirepool, the national equipment rental company, in 2003, which wasn't national then, it was only 14 branches, 9 of which were in Auckland, so it was, you know, for all intents and purposes, a glorified SME. And as we took it national over the 3 to 4 years past that, one of the joys of the acquisitions that we made and the people that we employed was at that time, and you'll think back 10 years ago, New Zealand's dynamic and ethnic diversity was increasing hugely. And we ended up with people in Hirepool, as we do have today. We do have an incredible ethnic mix, and that is it's culturally enriching to a level which you are all aware of and which other speakers have alluded to. But it's not just the richness of the cultural environment, it's the things that they bring, the level of competition, the level of entrepreneurship, as somebody else mentioned earlier on, and it was I put it down to that ethnic diversity to part of the performance that we had at Hirepool and that it still has. And today, literally today, we're about to buy our largest competitor, national competitor, HireQuip, and part of it is the culture of Hirepool that enabled it to perform during the GFC. And you will know, in a fixed cost business, it's very hard to take costs out and be able to perform. But because of the innovation in that business, we were able to. This is not a plug for Hirepool, but if you are thinking of doing something around the property this weekend, you know where to go. I wanted to just give you some government speak on who you are. And you are, in fact, a critical part of New Zealand's economy. By definition, you represent 97% of all business owners. You employ 30% of all people. You contribute 28% of GDP. And taking this, my government hat off in the sense of being the convener of the Small Business Development Group, and just putting one back on as a New Zealander in business, just imagine if that 28% was something over 30. Imagine if it was 35% of GDP that we all contributed to New Zealand's economy. The conversations that we would be having in New Zealand would be quite different today than the ones that we do have. And really interestingly, enterprises with fewer than 50 employees are creating nearly half of all new jobs and are increasingly becoming engaged in innovation and exporting activities. This is where the real growth is. And, you know, there are corporates like ANZ and others who I think fundamentally realise that, which is why we are all getting such great support from corporates with such extraordinary resources. I just want to touch briefly on innovation and business sophistication because it is critically important. The World Economic Forum has identified that innovation and business sophistication are the most important drivers of advanced economies. The only way a country can sustain higher incomes and standards of living is if our businesses are able to compete by offering new and advantaged products and services. New Zealand, by definition, is an advanced economy. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, we're 21st out of 34 countries on indices of that level, with Sweden, Switzerland and Japan at the top, Greece, Turkey and the Slovak Republic at the bottom. To use a rugby analogy, which, as I look around, may not be entirely appropriate, but anyway, we will not score tries at that end of the field. For those that play soccer, and the world does play soccer, we do forget that. We think the world plays rugby, but I think the world probably plays soccer, but it's the same thing. You can't pop goals, shoot goals from the wrong end of the field. On that indices, we are at the wrong end of the field, and we've got to do something about it. Many countries are lifting innovation and business sophistication as an economic strategy. And if New Zealand does not do better, it will not keep up, we will not keep up with other advanced nations. And yet, if we get it right, 10 years from now, possibly less than 10 years, we could make a significant difference to New Zealand at a macroeconomic level with obvious social outcomes by focusing on the underlying value of New Zealand's small business economy. And I briefly want to touch on education. Today's kids, are tomorrow's leaders or not. They will only through education be able to work in your businesses. It isn't going to happen otherwise. And when I was commanding officer of the Auckland Battalion, I couldn't put a private soldier in the field for less than the equivalent of old university entrants, which many of you will understand. And the reason for that really is twofold. One is battlefield technology has changed to such a level that we needed people who are able to, understand and absorb that information. The second thing, and probably the most important thing, is a thing we call the strategic corporal. Now, for those that know anything about the military, you will know that the words corporal and strategic do not go together. It is an oxymoron, except for one thing. When a young soldier puts a weapon to his shoulder and shoots the wrong person or does the wrong thing with it, it'll be on CNN in probably about 3 minutes and it will take governments down. The only way that we are able to prevent that from happening is through education, through giving people the right level of education, not just technical skills, but education to make the right decisions in complex military environments. And fighting in built-up areas, as we often do nowadays overseas, is a very, very complex environment. The question I've got, to use that analogy, is what are we doing as small business owners and our businesses to ensure that our people are educated and therefore have the diversified decision-making ability where they make the right decision out in the field. And I know at Hirepool we spent considerable amounts of time and resources to educate our people, not just technically train them. So can I just congratulate you, just one plug really on being here, but just one quick plug if I may. I've started an entity on LinkedIn called the New Zealand SME Business Network. It's all pro bono, no fees. I'm not looking to monetise it in any way. I am very passionate about seeing SMEs grow and develop in New Zealand, and I'm equally as passionate about doing it from supporting and working positively with the government, whichever the government will be. Time will tell next year. But it is critically important that we do have policies and we are encouraging the right development and execution of policies that positively affect New Zealand's small business economy. So it's on LinkedIn, it's called the New Zealand SME Business Network, and we would love to see that become more ethnically diverse as well. Thanks so much.